does it take to drive a car like this? Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
No one's ever asked this before.
The whole idea was becoming very intimidating. Have I bitten off more than I can chew? Before Ginetta would even think about letting me near the LMP3, there were a number of conditions I needed to fulfill. The first of these was to get some practice driving on slick tyres, something I'd never done before. Kelly had suggested booking a day in a G55 GT4 SuperCup car. This is the older and bigger brother of my Ginetta G56 GTA. It has more horsepower, 350 up from 270, bigger brakes, more front splitter aero, a straight cut gearbox, and most importantly, those slick tyres. Before I could drive the G55 car on track, however, I first needed to get to grips with one in the simulator. So it was back up to SimTrack in Leeds to get in a session with James in that all-important G55 GT4 SuperCup car. If I was to convince Ginetta to let me drive the LMP3, I was going to have to demonstrate that I could ably handle a G55 SuperCup in real-world conditions. It was massively impressive how much later you can brake, how much harder you can turn in, and generally how much faster this car is compared to my GTA. As you can see, I'm absolutely dripping in sweat. We just had a really good session in the simulator, driving for the first time the GT4 SuperCup car. Definitely eye-opening, and there is a difference. So I'm really glad that I've done this, because if I hadn't have done and I'd gone straight out on the track on the slick tyres and with the, the better brakes and everything, I would have just been all over the place. So I'm glad that I've picked up and learnt it in the sim here at SimTrack. Now that I was a bit more familiar with the feel of the car, at least virtually, it was time to take on the real thing. So it was back in the car, straight back down the M1 to Donington Park, where I had a track session booked. We've got a session with Raceway Motorsport. They have kindly lent us one of the SuperCup cars that they have in their stable. And the main reason that we're actually doing this is because I've got to get some experience on driving on slicks and understanding the cornering the cornering forces on a car that's on slick tyres rather than a car that's on road tyres. And there is a big difference, and I've already learned that to some extent in the simulator, so I'm really excited to put that into practice. And my hope is that in doing this today, I'm getting some valuable experience of a little bit of a taster of what it's going to be like to drive that monstrous LMP3 car. We are just about to go on track in the GT4 SuperCup car. So the difference is, now that we're here, I've been talking about them for a long time on video, but now that we're actually here, we can actually show you. So here's the aerodynamics on the front that are not on my GTA car, that will be completely different. So we've got a large front splitter here, which is going to help us with downforce in the corners. You can see very obviously slick tyres on the GTA. They're normally road tyres, so that's going to be interesting. I mean, these discs are so much bigger, that's probably what you can just about see through. And of course, we've got aero on the back, diffuser, the extra horsepower, gearbox ratios are slightly different, so it's going to be a completely different car to drive. Just got in from the first session ever in a SuperCup, and that's made a big impression on me. I just cannot believe the speed it holds through the corners. It's unbelievable. That front splitter and those slick tyres can hold speed through the corners like I've not experienced before. It is completely eye-opening. I absolutely love the car. It's totally raw as well. There's so much louder as well, and so much more sort of menacing when you first go around it for a couple of times. But actually, when you settle into it, when you get it, it's just a really, really enjoyable and actually quite easy car to drive. So glad I've tried it. I'm excited. They've just, unfortunately, I did make the rookie error of stamping too hard on the slicks, and they have therefore flat spotted. So I've got 2 new tyres on the front to go out on, but we're about to go back out now, so it should be good fun. We've just come in from the second session, and I was pushing a bit harder this time. We had a few interesting bits, but James, am I doing all right on these slicks?
Yeah, you're doing actually really well, mate, to be fair.
Good. That's
doing a really good job. Yeah,
right.
It's always quite interesting when your driver goes from road tyres to slicks.
Yeah.
As the car's a hell of a lot more twitchy.
Yeah.
And you've only got a small window of progression before the tyre just lets go completely.
Before it goes.
The main places where we can start to improve is pretty much just braking and entries.
Yeah.
So your exits everywhere are perfect.
Yeah,
so
good.
your exits are kind of your easiest point to learn.
Yeah.
So that's where you feel the most confident.
Yeah.
But where you feel the least confident is entry.
And especially after that lock-up.
Well, that's the same for every driver. It's the same for every driver.
And obviously what I need to do is kind of be hard on the brakes and aggressive on the brakes in a way that doesn't cause a lock-up. And when I find that limit of, right, that's too far, that's a lock-up, but just back from that is where I want to be, basically.
Exactly right. Yeah, you have to just feed onto the brake to kind of feed into pressure a little bit more than what you did when you had the lock-up.
Yeah.
But apart from that lock-up, we're progressing nicely and we're getting faster. Literally every lap, we're getting faster by chunks every single corner.
Yeah,
so if we keep doing what we're doing, we'll be...
Well, it feels
mega.
Yeah. I headed back out solo, and I continued driving for as long as I could. But all too soon, the sun began to set on my day in the G55. Although I suspected I was nowhere near hitting the limits of what this car can do, I learned a hell of a lot during my exhausting but incredibly useful day. What a day. I've driven the SuperCup now on slick tyres. Wow, what an eye-opening experience that has been. It does make me think, bloody hell, I've now got to do that on slicks, but with this LMP3, and I'm now in a situation where it's going to be even faster, more power, probably the brakes are going to be even better. It's just mind-boggling that that's even possible. It's the end of the day now, as you can see, so the light's fading, so they've called the checkered flag. I think the last few cars are just coming in. Big thanks to Luca at Raceway Motorsport for what he's done today. It's been absolutely amazing to be able to take their team car out for a bit of a spin, and I'm so glad that I've brought it back in one piece with no damage. The G55 SuperCup is an incredible machine. I would love to have a drive in it again sometime, but for now, it had served its purpose. I was back at the Ginetta factory to meet up with Kelly as she took me through into my very own LMP3 car seat fitting. These LMP3 cars, you cannot just sort of jump into it like a normal car seat or anything like that. You actually have to have the seat moulded to your body shape so that you can fit in the car and drive it as best you possibly can. If I was going to get permission to drive the car, I needed one making for myself. Wow. Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about how this sort of seat fitting actually works and what goes into it to actually make it happen, basically?
Yeah, sure. So basically, as you'll see when you have a look in the car, there's basically a carbon fibre shell in there, which is made for the regulations. It's nice and strong. That's the bit that gives you the safety, but it doesn't fit anybody. So they make it purposefully too big.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is use a big rubberised bag with a load of beads in it. You sit on it. It forms around you. We mould it around you. Resins go in. They go off. You sit there. It goes hard, and you've got a nice, comfortable seat that is a perfect kind of recreation of what you look like from behind.
What is it? 9 seconds on the driver's on the passenger side, and 7 seconds on the escape time. Is it something? I'm sure.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I've never done it.
Right.
So you're probably about 3 inches too low at the moment. So you're able to sort of sit yourself up a little bit more like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, because you're quite long in the leg, that's going to be probably one of the things we need to work with just to get you sort of happy there. I'm assuming we can push all the pedals down and what have you.
Yeah. I mean, I've got clutch down, brake down, accelerator down.
Yeah, you can left foot or right foot. I'm assuming, do you right foot?
Right foot, so I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk trying to do something new.
Don't worry about anything. So what we need to make sure then in that case is that your left foot's well supported over on the left-hand side on the rest plate.
Okay.
So we're going to make the seat specifically for your left foot to be out of the way and your right foot to be doing all the work, basically.
Yeah.
What I want you to be able to do though is just grab hold of the wheel and just do a steering sweep for me. So left and right, and then that's fine. So we're just going to be a little bit conscious that we don't raise your legs up so that your hands brush over your thighs, because what we don't want to do is kind of get to the point where you can't turn anymore.
Can't turn, yeah. I've now got to sit here for about 15-20 minutes while this just sort of sets and moulds around me, and all of this extra, because this is actually starting to go hard already, I can feel it. This all just moulds around me now, and Andrew sort of moved everything and put it all in place, and looks like there's lots to trim off and get rid of wastage, but overall this is literally like the comfiest seat I've ever sat in my life. Yeah, amazing, completely hugging my body, so that's great. Whilst I was waiting for the resin to cure, it was crazy to think that if all went well over the next few days, then the next time I'd be sat in this cockpit, I could be hurtling around Silverstone at over 180 miles an hour. Just got out of the car, having sat in it for nearly 30 minutes now. I think it's all set. So Andrew, as you can just see in there, is now trying to wrestle it out of the car, because obviously that thing is properly solid now. Unbelievably comfy. I mean, I almost fell asleep in there. That was fantastic. So now that I realise what it's like when you are comfy in it, and what it feels like when you are fully supported around the back of your legs, around your back, everything, it's huge difference. It is literally going to be like driving, where you're completely stuck to the machine. You're not wobbling around in a seat, or even in my GTA car now, when I put my foot on the brake, there's a moment where my backside sort of has to move a little bit, like even if it's just a centimetre in the seat before I hit the back of the seat, and then I can really put brake pressure down. That still happens. In this, there's no way that can happen. You're just completely fixed in the car. The final piece of the puzzle, and the crescendo to all the efforts I'd been putting in to prove to Ginetta that I was capable of driving this car, was a final LMP3 simulator test. I was genuinely nervous. Getting to grips with the G55 had been a challenge, but not something too far out of my existing comfort zone. However, everyone that I had spoken to so far had told me that comparatively, the LMP3 was on another planet. I was pleased to see a familiar face in Charlie. Immediately, he began to give me some great pointers. But nothing could prepare me for the sheer speed and power of this 5-litre beast. And it's fair to say that I didn't make the best first impression.
Oh, he's off! He's on a huge one!
Oh, he's well off there. Where are you going?
However, once I'd taken time to settle and acclimatise to the way in which this awesome machine drove, I finally began to make progress. By the end of a marathon session, I was managing to post some acceptable, if not respectable, lap times. I truly hoped that I'd done all I needed to earn the passing grade from Charlie, though some of the excitement of what potentially lay ahead was beginning to turn to trepidation. Just finishing the simulator, absolutely knackered. My wrists are absolutely killing me. So we've literally just done like pretty much 3 hours solid in the sim, so my wrists are really, really tired. But definitely eye-opening. Can't believe the speed that the car can cope with. Going in the simulator, it's had a sort of, I feel like it's had a positive and a negative. I'm positive as in, oh great, okay, I feel like I know where to be, gears, I know where to be on the corners, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. But the negative is, in real life, I've got to make that happen with fear factor added in, and that's the thing that I can't really comprehend right now, that I'm sort of really nervous about.
It's been interesting, I think, for Ed. There's a big step up in pace. The simulator model we have here is super accurate to the real thing, so it was a good warm-up for Ed to be able to get a feel of what it's going to be like in terms of downforce, braking performance, slick tyres. I think he had a shock, if I'm honest, in terms of the pace difference compared to his Ginetta GTA car that he's racing this year, around 20 to 30 seconds, a lap quicker around the Silverstone GP circuit. So yeah, I think he did a good job, all in all. A couple of things he can work on, a few inconsistencies here and there with a couple of corners where he did have a few offs. You know, the simulator, you can make a mistake without being punished too much or at all, really. So, you know, if he does those mistakes on the circuit, we're going to have a one-way ticket to the wall. So I'm hoping we keep it on the straight and narrow and he has a good day, but I feel like today has been a good preparation for him.
So that was the final piece of the puzzle completed. Now there was nothing left to do but to wait and see if I had done enough. And also, I'm just thinking about things like batteries and God knows what that we're actually going to need for all the kit. Do we need?
It's helpful to have extra, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that's phone. Oh, that's Kelly. Steve, grab the camera. Grab the camera. That's Kelly. Hiya. How you doing? You all right?